Voila, it is I. Okay, so aside from the pumpkin, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on with your girl Kelly? Okay, so this is my blanket. Dog's here. I'm gonna turn on the car. Yeah, I am someplace cold. Yeah. It's not exactly hell, but it's not hell's friend. It's not hell's keeper. So, uh, uh, so what do you do when you're in an economy where banks are being generous with their money and they're going to approve the loans that they want to give out, right? Because face it, right? The Fed has raised the hike, and oh my goodness. I hope this is being recorded. Okay, so this is my spectacular, non-spectacular, very specific video on what are you going to do, right? So this is what I want you to do. Now, because coming off of 2008, 2009, there are a lot of people who went into foreclosure. I was one of them. I had to salvage my life, work back towards financial independence. I had people scoffing at me because back then, that was me in my 40s. And this is me in my 50s and glamping it away and not paying a mortgage. But say I wanted to get a mortgage right now, okay? So what would I do? What would be the first steps? The first step is to talk to the bank about the type of mortgage you can afford. It will always be kind of a first step because you need that pre-approval authorization to go out there to look at houses. So what kind of house are you looking for? Are you looking for a jumbo loan house? Because are you looking for something over, $400,000, $500,000? How can you get in the house and how can you make it affordable? Well, I'm going to tell you there are 3 rules that you should follow anytime you're going to make a large purchase. Either one, pay cash for it. Which most people cannot afford to do, honestly, even though our economy is great and everything's great and we have cash. We're coming off a pandemic. Still, there were bills that needed to be paid, and there's stuff that up and up needs to happen, right? Deliveries, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and yada yada. I need to see my family. Splitsville got to cook some food, right? So, what are you going to do? Because store prices are high. There are going to be a lot more people in that turkey line trying to get a free turkey to thaw out in less than a week. And all that stuff. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right, so for everyone who's in the market for buying a house, please do not get discouraged, okay? This is me just trying to have a friendly conversation of what matriculating some of the things that I've learned. And I know it's like, don't worry about it. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I know what I am talking about a day, half. But what can you do? How can you do it? What do you want to do? It depends on the options that are available to you. Personal finance is personal. So whether you have excellent credit, and you could just say, you know what, I'm going to put 1% down on the house. And because you have like a million, you have Deca millions, people will be like, well, we're a bank. You're going to put 1% down and we'll give you a loan for 1%. We'll make an exception, right? Because the chances of that person being high risk isn't like your everyday Yoko. Okay? It's not me, right? It's not just, you only know options for your section, right? So of the, whatever it is that section is. So it's more like income, that has to matter at this. How much can you afford? And then it's savings and investments and it's what kind of neighborhood do you want to live in, and how much are you willing to pay, and what kind of house do you want? Because It is really, there's maintenance, there's taxes, there's insurance, and these, after you finish paying off the house or you don't finish paying off the house, all of the interest and the penalties that go along with buying the house are still there. And nobody says you have to buy a house to pay it off. There's a whole group of people that are just, we paid off our house, and then they're able to build a lot of cash up. But what's the other group? What's the flip side of the coin? Okay? So where does that go? Okay? So here's what I want you to know. My big ears were listening to the conversations that people were having around me who made a little bit more money than I did. And this is what I wanted to tell you. You can do something, which is check and see with the tax credits that you're getting whether you live in a rural area, and see if you qualify for doing things a certain way or helping to build a house with a certain organization. Yes, I'm talking Habitat. Yes, that's a route you can go, especially if you're homeless. It's a route you can go because there's other organizations who really care about people and don't want them out in the cold. So you would try to get in contact with an organization so that you can get on a list, because you never know, things could turn around for you. You'll be living in an apartment or a condo now, but you don't know when your situation is going to change. Or you could be living in your car, but they say, come over here, be on this site and help us build your house. It's going to be right here and it's yours. And then they kind of take care of some of the final details. Kind of like a show on HGTV or something like that. No affiliation, but I love that show. And they will put together the house and make sure you have a welcome gift and you have the things you need to live there comfortably. And that is what I love, because hopefully they don't overbuild, and then hopefully some of the specifications of what you want in the house they bring up to code and they make it sound. Just in case you don't know much about housing and the dynamics of that, they make sure you make better decisions and that you're able to be in something that you can for the duration. So that's another route to go. If you say, I really don't think I can ever get in a house, then team with an organization that can build your house with you helping. So that means, yes, for a year or so or two, it may be a little bit longer because people are stretched on resources, but it will help you get in there and take care of the types of things you need to take care of. You may even get the house quickly done, especially even if you have limited resources and you get into a house that just needs a few repairs, or a HUD home is the next thing. Try to look at and getting on the HUD list and looking for a HUD home where you might be able to get in, because you will be able to do some of the work yourself, or you can get a contractor to come in. Now, most contractors, they always say they're going to have a hard time coming in and they don't want to low bid, they don't want to process the paperwork. Well, what you can do is, before you get HUD home, they make you take a course, I think, something like that sometimes. So once all your ducks are lined up and you've gone through that process, which might take a year or two, and some people are on like HUD home lists and waiting for many moons, and some people aren't. So if you can get in early, learn the process, learn the cycle, at least sometime down the line, you won't have to worry about that next home, that next apartment, because you will be able to take advantage of trying to at least get your foot in the door and get the ball rolling. This will help you tremendously. The other thing is, if you're still able to work and you're not making ends meet, then it's very frustrating to be on the HUD list is frustrated to wait for a Habitat Humanity home because there's waiting, right? So the other thing I highly recommend is to basically do something like sketch together with an help of an architect while you still have funds, something that will pass any commission, any it will make the difference when it gets inspected, when there's a home inspection. And just buy the plans for your future home while you have money. Say you say, in 10 years I'd like to have this. Well, discuss what you want in the house. And say you're 18 and you say, well, in 10 years I really, really want to have a house. Well, why not reach out to and go on some of the sites where there's already architectural plans that are built up to code, and take a look at what it would normally take, and then try to imagine taking a course in college where you not only imagine this in college, but go to Home Depot and take some of their courses. They still offer courses on painting and lumber. They still offer them. And this is your time to actually learn some basic skills, which is like, when you're reading the handyman book, anybody can be like let down. If you're seeing a video on YouTube, most people can try to conquer some of that. But you really need to take a look at where you want to place the building, where you want your kids to grow up. And so if you've not had kids and you're between that 18 to 30, I would say take a look at some architectural plans. Now, some of the architectural plans and the layout will dictate your buying power later, but it also will give you a chance to know what you want to save for. And then look at what's available in your area today, and look at the architecture, what's supported, especially if 10 years from now you say that you might still want to be here. And that's really something I would pray over. If you're a praying person or a believing person, I would pray over those house plans. I would pray over those house plans, and I would, really ask for to be delivered into a house situation where you can lay roots and be a part of a community. And that's really all you can do. So aside from that, what do you want to do? First, talk to the bank, and they'll have you filled out an application, and they'll let you know if you weren't approved, why you weren't approved. You can also talk to a loan manager and say, look, I don't want a hard pull. I don't want my name running across bank lines with, all these inquiries, because I'm not ready to buy a house. But if you could give me a checklist, or if I can watch a video, I'd like to see a video. I'd like to discuss what would make me home ready. What would make me home buying ready, because I feel like it's overwhelming. And just be honest with them. I'm not in the market yet. I want it, but if I can do something now to prepare, please definitely help me with those things. And it will make all the difference. And ask them what the interest rates, how that's going to affect your buying experience based on your personal experience right now and where you stand with your asset allocation and your own personal finance portfolio. So this is where you should say, I don't know where I stand. I don't have a monthly budget. I haven't been following anything. I have been just kind of doing my own thing and making ends meet. Well, if that's the case, it's a good place to start, and they might actually be able to connect you with their budgeting software that they recommend. They can also help you with your taxes. They can help you get into maybe even certificates of deposits at this time, whereas, and we used to be seeing certificates of deposits at, an O or a 1. Now they're somewhat above 3 and even 4, which is amazing. A 4% rate of return is nothing to balk at, because if Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve is trying to keep inflation at 2, and he wants to get it there, and he's determined to get it there, then you're at 4, so you're 2% above inflation, which is fabulous, right? So do you see how that works? So that's like a get out of your headspace free card, where you're above the inflation point by 2 points, and that matters. That's a biggie. So yeah, those gains that's you. That's like receiving a double portion and being rewarded just for not touching your money, instead of just leaving it in, your account. And you don't have to, I'm not saying go above your emergency fund. If you got 10 to 15,000 or 15 to 20,000 in your emergency fund, by all means, if you want to keep it there and that's your 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, feel free to do that. But if you're still making money and on the save, you save 20 or 15% of your income in a savings account, or even 10%, well, a portion of that can be deposited into an account where it can still be your savings. You don't have to overcomplicate it, but just save it in the regular savings account. You don't have to open up special accounts ever. And most people keep it simple, stupid, and they just say, I have a checking account, I have a savings account, this is where this money is going, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it by opening up a spending account, a holiday account, this and that, because life is complicated enough, right? So here's your money, keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, stupid. It's just that if you have it in your budget as a line item, then that's where you kind of capture the specifics of it, and you divide out your savings. So like I said, whether you're doing 5, 10, or 15, or 20, or even half of your paycheck, or say you're a couple and one person's whole paycheck goes into savings, you can choose and decide how you want that savings to actually grow beyond the savings account, especially if it's a little bit elevated. And so you can choose to put it into a certificate of deposit at your bank or your credit union, and that will give you all the more interest. And you can choose the timeline. I don't know if they're still the same, 6 months, 1 year, up to 5, 10, whatever, 20 years you want to do it and you don't want to touch it. But at that end of it, they'll tell you what you earned, somewhat, very simply, and then at the same time, you actually can have that portion untouched by you. So it keeps it out of your eye, especially if you're like me and I'm like, gosh, I really want to shop at the store, And then you're just like, oh, okay, well, I really want to do that certificate of deposit because, well, I can shop at the store and buy one nice outfit a month, or I could do a shopping spree right now. And you have to decide like what you want to do, especially heading back into the workplace. Sometimes I feel like you need like that immediate essential wardrobe, right? But then I feel like don't punk yourself because even that's going to get old and tired, right? So what you want to do is you want to buy a few really good pieces. Yes, that's true because this is your image in the workplace, wherever that might be, and you might need something that's either long lasting or you're going to need something that is very stylish, depending on if you're the front end and the front face of the corporation. And you also going to want something where you might want something that is just, I need to be able to move and get around and really comfortable, but I need myself to feel stylish. So you just have to decide which category works best for you and budget it in to wherever you are for your personal. Some people have a $5,000 budget, some people have $20,000 budgets, and some people have $50,000 budgets and above, and then some people have about a yearly budget of about, thrift. Shopping at Gabe's, shopping at a thrift store, shopping their own closet. So let's not forget to reshop your own closet, okay? I can tell you, it's the gift that gives back. And it's so weird because I also find myself, I had to give away a lot of things when I moved out. None of it was for super, super hot weather. So, and I also just needed a few things, and I wore them in the summer quite successfully. And I only had one load of laundry the whole summer. When I went to go to the laundromat, I had one load of laundry. When I did get some of my stuff back from what was supposed to be in storage, I had this one big box. I was dreading going through it. I was like, I'm going to have so much winter clothes to go through. It's a huge box. It just had my jackets in it. I had no winter clothes. Nothing. So nada. And I just remember being like, go in the store. It's a moderate store. It's a moderate price store. Go in it. And I was somewhere in like Middle Earth, America. And it was so cold there. It was so cold, because it was Middle Earth North, right? So I was freezing. I would like just get out of my car and I'd be like, and back in my neighborhood, I still had to break out the, double judge clothes. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I went and I shopped, and I'm not gonna lie, obviously this is an Amazon hat. My jacket's, the jacket's old, but the rest of the stuff is Old Navy, because they've been having some of the best sales on clothing that I've seen at just your everyday kind of wear store. I'm glamping. No, I'll just say it. I am not glamping, I am car camping, okay? And so it is wonderful. I'm trying to work on a few projects to get my inverter set up. But aside from that, going back to the clothing, why am I getting the inverter? I'm looking at my coffee machine. That's why. I'm not gonna lie to you. You can't always set up a fire, okay? Especially when it's dry. So, just saying. So all I was trying to do was do that. So I got the bulk of my outfit, and I headed over to Target to get this blanket. Yeah, it's turned inside out, but yeah, it's a Joanna Gaines. I love it. And it's not mine, it's the dog's now. So go figure, right? So I am, and he sleeps on top of it, I sleep under it. And he's like toasty, toasty, because he makes a little hollow nest, so it envelops him and cradles his little body, and then I get the rest. You know, so I was like, that'll do, you know? And, and so I'll pull it down, put it on him and everything like that. But I think, that is the way it is for now. We are just, we're happy. Oh, I wish I was filming from the other side, because there's actually so much light coming in. It's just, I need the top light. But yeah, I would say get that budget together for your clothing. And like I said, I think I've done a horrible job sometimes at budgeting, but sometimes your plan is in your head. And so you have to remind yourself of what it looks like on paper. And you can say, well, I can see what my spending is and see where my bills are going. But then when I got out here, all of a sudden I found myself really feeling the pinch of like gasoline and food costs, so an inflationary cost. So this was my way of restarting, and I put 2 comfortable size, you know, small, like, you know, foam dollar store, you know, pails in the back, and the things I was like, no, I don't want that. I need something expensive. And I just ended up like, I had to do all sorts of finagling, and I said, oh my gosh. So I got over myself, bought the dollar store foam, and I just went and go for it, and put the ice in it, and put my food in it. And it has been the best decision I have ever made. Like, I just want to give myself a go girl, and you would be like, I could be mad at myself for not doing it sooner. But then I wouldn't be me, right? Delayed anger me, right? So that's the gift, to keep giving myself delayed anger. So anyway, go to the bank. The other types of loans I really want to talk to you about are 0 interest. If you have excellent credit, I want you to consider a 0 interest loan, especially if you meet the criteria and you're able to do a jumbo loan. And what does this mean for you? Well, you still have to pay your taxes and insurance, but the 0 interest loan exists on certain jumbo loans so that you can get in the house, and you're just, or an interest only loan. I don't mean 0, I'm sorry. Interest only loan. So you will not be paying off the principal. You will be, your goal will just be to, say you want to live in a nice neighborhood for your children, and you don't, after they're graduated, you want to leave. Or you want to refinance and you just have been paying the interest, right? So this is not exactly what they call sound practice, and you may have to refinance the zero interest loan again. But say you capture the zero interest loan for 10 years. Well, in the 80s, when inflation was hitting high, and you saw you were coming off of movies like The Car Wash and long lines in the Carter administration and things like that. Well, you could go into it would be better if you wanted to be in a certain neighborhood to do, and you had all the criteria for that, to just, for college sake or for whatever reason, just go into a zero interest, or an interest only loan. I don't know why I keep saying zero interest. I mean, go into an interest only loan. And some banks still offer them, some banks don't. So you're going to have to shop around carefully. And like I said, the criteria would be that if you do want to stay in the home, or if you switch up a lot, you pretty much get that lesser price. It's the interest only, and you're never going to pay this. You're not paying this house off. It's not that you never will, but you probably have to refinance into a conventional mortgage. And when you do, you'll be back at the high price that you paid for it, and you with the interest that you have to pay on it. So, is from what I understand. So I would say it's a suggestion. It's not my forte. Connect you with another video link of someone who explains it a lot better would be, the task at hand. Like I said, I overheard it, and they were like, we're going to refinance to zero into another zero. And I was like, oh. They were like, why not? why not ask the bank? I don't know what happened, but I said, I'm sorry, they're interest free, So I was like, they're interest only loan, and they said they had it for 10 years. Now I pick up everything that I don't need to pick up until I need it, and let's just say I was kind of like, wow, that's really cool. And then I was like, wow, this really gets my betters. Nice shout out to Betterment. From the Mr. Mustache crew, yes. But yeah, that's what that comes from. And when it allows you to do, so you look at your payment, right? Look at your house payment, and you're like, oh wow, I'm paying with principal and interest, together I'm paying $1,500, but if I only pay the interest only, and it's tough to take care of the taxes, that's true, but then you're able to get in the home with just the penalties and interest. Okay, now this doesn't prepay your interest, you know what I'm saying? So you'll always have the interest and penalties because of the principal not really changing, and there may require a larger down payment. I'm not sure of the process. I will try to find some information, but you're welcome to Google and try to find that for yourself, because this is just one option, and one option does not fit all. Okay, not everyone will qualify for an interest only loan, and it may not be beneficial, because some people do want to buy a home outright, and there are a million reasons why someone would be like, why do you want to just keep on paying on your house and you never own it fully? So You have to consider your reasons and do you meet the criteria for that target market, okay? And interestingly enough, do you want to look wealthy and do you want to be in that school district? If the answer is yes and yes, well then you do you. I ain't got no judgments here against you. But if you want to be more sensible, I would also consider living in a county where if you have the wherewithal and you want to do some homesteading, join a home, be as self-sufficient as you can. Read up on the kind of fencing you need to get, the kind of habitat you want to have, and start slowly. Buy the land, go to it, and put in the time and build it up. Only the things you expertly cannot do you pay for. Keep your budget as low as possible. Reclaim whatever you can. Try to get everything you can for free, from demolition and everything. Because really, let me tell you something about local and small. They don't want tourists here when it's not tourist season. And the builders, when you build and they invite you in, they don't want you taking resources from them either. So the more self-sufficient you can be, whether it means putting a water, like when you're in Hawaii, you have to have your water delivered and put into a water, a kind of a water unit that sends the water through and does all this stuff. Because, you cannot drink ocean water. Hello. And so, really, that's what ends up happening, is that you have to be very self-sufficient in most of these communities. It's a difference between, I'm going to ask for your help and I'm going to go on YouTube. And it's also the difference between, they want to know that they're high and their help is be willing to offer help. So you come in to do your project, be willing to offer them help. Be willing to associate with them, not because they give you something in terms of being in the small community, but because you give them something. Like there's a plot of land over here. It says for restaurant site. Now, if I were to build a restaurant there, of course I have a different flair and all this stuff. But this is what, I would have to meet their criteria, and I would have to do things very businesslike and blah, blah, blah. And I might be 2 towns over because that's just a business site, right? So it just depends. So will it add to the community, strengthen the community, or will it clash with something else? They would have to approve that. And you would have to get really, really good feedback. So we don't want to really clash. We want to keep moving because we were just waiting on a vehicle. That's it. And the guy said he was going to be super busy this week. And the car is, I think he said it was on consignment. So he had to wait for the owner. The owner wasn't coming till later. And then we had a snowstorm. And I was like, yeah, story of my life. But I was very happy to be here. I just didn't want to overstep my bounds. So, I was like, people have been super nice. Like somebody trying to set up a shower so my phone doesn't get to everybody and all that stuff. It's super nice. I have my own set of boundaries. I can't deal with much right now. I don't feel comfortable with anybody. Like I said, anybody like in my truck and anybody near me. I don't really want that. So, and Lord knows my dog will bark them off, and if that doesn't work, there's some other provisions, but I mean, let's not go there. So yeah, for the getting back to the bank and the criteria, try to find something that works for your budget. You can get homestead, a homesteader's land. They still offer that. But like I said, will you be okay in the community? Is there something you can offer them? Help, volunteering, so that if there isn't something you don't know, that's the time, you just listen or, pay attention. And if not, just find all the information you can and keep a scrapbook and keep either an electronic or a scrapbook until you're able to buy land that you want. And then, like I said, take that time to beautify it the way you need to. But it may take, some people put them up real quick. Like, I built my little tiny home in, a week or 3 days. But that's because all the materials were on site. They had already fielded for the materials. They had already had them stored, in some garage space where they could build out. And they got to a point where they had helping hands, or they did it by themselves, but they did it knowing what the plan was. And once you finalize the plan, even if you have to make a few changes here and there, it makes it so easy to set in some things. But remember, glue has to dry, paint has to dry, and not everything is just nailed in and put together. Although you can, once you have certain plans, especially with some of the buildings that are coming over and shipped over that are flat packed, those take 3 people 3 hours to build. But here's the thing, you might actually have to go very carefully with the instructions, right? You have to be very prepared to give yourself some time and leeway, right? So you have to be very careful what seems easy, appears easy, looks easy, is simplistic. They also have a company coming out that even Elon Musk has talked about, Boxable, where it just sets itself up. They put it on site. It comes alive, and they have it set up. And I think their thing is like a day or 1 or 2 hours. Something like that. It's ridiculous. It just opens up, slides up. And the only thing you have to do is add like dishes and bedding, and it's done. It has everything in it. So that's the idea. If you are also waiting and are putting yourself on a waiting list for a tiny home, it's, those Boxables come at the price range they come at, and you can put yourself on a waiting. But in the meantime, buy the land, and then if it's homesteading land, you can go ahead and set up the Boxable. And then if that's affordable and you can still work in that area, then go for it. So there are a little bit of there's leeway. There are less expensive places to live in different cities. You just might have to deal with different things in that new city. So go visit the city, see if you like the place, and you might be able to settle down and find yourself doing better than you expected, just with a change of course and a move to a less expensive city. So make sure that you take every opportunity to visit places, at least around the country, once or twice a year when you have those vacation points. Go someplace nice, but then visit, not saying you have to visit a realtor, but just take a day trip and go to the nearby suburbs where you live, just to see what the price points are and how things are developing. And you can look it up in, Zillow or your local realtor. I'm not affiliated with any of these, but it'll make quite a difference. And then you can see where you want to be, whether it's something under 50,000, under 100,000, over 1 million. That's up to you and your personal finance. But at least at this point in time, you will be you'll have some semblance of an idea of what that environment means to you when you get there. So also, I feel like if you need public transit, you might want to consider the fact that they might have public transit, they might not. So at least try your hand at seeing what the area is like and how you can support yourself in that economy. I hope that makes sense. So aside from the interest-only loans, you could try paying down points on your mortgage or points on your refinance if that institution, the bank or the credit union, or will allow, or your online bank will allow it. And then this way, say, we know we're at the sevens right now for good credit, great credit. So you might want to try paying down some points. And what you would do is you would say, hey, I really like this loan. I'd like to pay down some of the points. And you have to say to yourself, well, if you're ready to do that, talk to them. Some of that can be put on the back end. They can wrap it up in the jumbo loan. And that way you can, it'll just go towards the back end, but it'll help pay, it'll help your payment remain low over a conventional 30-year. But just remember, it can be expensive. Yeah, so do the best you can, but it's nice to see if you're hitting the sevens or the eights that you might be able to pay it down a little bit. And they would work with you. The bank would have to work with you in your own personal situation. They might do just 1 point, or you might qualify for 2, and that way you can get the interest rate down to 5 or 6, depending on what you qualify for. And then that way, at least if, like I said, if you were at a high interest rate before, this is the time to at least get it back down under a 5 if you can, before there's another decision for a rate hike around the corner, and try to finish that paperwork off so you can enjoy your house and breathe a little bit easier. And I think that might help you a lot. And the other thing is, and not everybody has to agree with me, but the rules don't often change for like certain financial gurus. Like Dave Ramsey really presses getting a 15-year mortgage, paying your house off in 15 years. And, say a lot of people will say to themselves, and he also only wants you to go up to 25% net, taxes included in your debt. So if you can get it below 25%, that's the monthly inclusive of your debt to income, and with your monthly take home, then that 20 or 25% that you choose to pay off, to have for your mortgage payment, so it doesn't interfere if something happens with your life. You might be in a better position. So what you're approved for initially may be somewhere like 28, but your debt might bring it to 36. But with what you make, it might seem like you're paying half your paycheck to make ends meet. He says it has to be the net. The net take home is that 25%, or that 20 to 25%. And he does that because if you get demoted, or you need to take a lesser job or work part-time, he's trying to get you to keep the house even at that lesser payment, so you're not struggling in case something else comes along unexpected. And many people meet that criteria, and many people don't. So He's not going to have any, he's not going to have a discussion about interest only loans unless it's to slap that away, because you're not able to really, you have to do what you would like to do, like as far as your personal finance goals are, and you have to do what makes sense for you. And there are a ton of packages out there that each bank has. So my job is not to tell you what to do. It's just to say, if you are looking, most people are holding on, waiting. And to me, who says you have to pay off the house? You need shelter. You need shelter. If you're not comfortable where you are, and your family's growing, or you need something, or you can't take it, you have to take that chance. But why go up when you can at least try to go down? Because if the inflation is under control, some of the housing prices should go down, but not in every area of the country. High cost of living areas usually retain their values. And they usually do an improvement. They usually do a jump up. And so, even though that might self-correct, it usually means that it's just a waiting period before it rebounds. And you have to be able to weather that rebound and still say, this is the house I want. This is where I want to live. And that's what you have to measure for measure, really gutturally, not second guess yourself on or have buyer's remorse. So that's all you need to worry about, and understanding you will have buyer's remorse when you buy a house. It's definitely a part of the process, but it doesn't have to be a long-term, drawn-out remorse, okay? You should find something and things that you really do like and appreciate about where you live, and you should definitely stake it out enough so that even if that's not that house, it might be some other location that makes more sense for your situation. So good luck, best of luck to you, and try not to worry too much about this advice coming from me. When I bought my house, I was at the 25. So incomes did change, and I was able to have some sustainability for a while. But then I had to listen to my inner Kenny Rogers and kind of say, know when to fold them, know when to hold them, and then take my time. Some people went into condos, some people went into apartments, which may have been like the better alternative in the waiting game. And then some people, and that may be more idyllic, but I just chose car glamping because I just wasn't sure at all what to do. And I kind of had the dream since 2020, and I figured, if you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? Just don't run out of rent money. That's what I said. So that you can somehow make it back into an apartment situation. So, and with that said, I hope this information was helpful for anyone who thinks that they've missed the window of opportunity to either refinance or buy a house right now. Look at the different mortgage packages, some of those unconventional loans that you hadn't thought about, and ask the bank based on your situation. And you might find something, you might not. You might have to wait a little bit longer, but at least you won't be putting the cart before the horse. So remember, that's my motto. Don't put the cart before the horse. And that way, you'll get traction, you'll get movement, and you'll be moving in the direction that you want it to move into. Okay? Because that cart is your cart. It doesn't matter how many other obstacles come against you in life. If it's your cart, that's what you own. If it's your horse, that's what you own. And if you block your own cart, well, you have to figure that out, right? So devise a plan and get some advice and make it work. And I think you'll find that just taking a little bit of a break is going to work wonders for you and be real motivation, especially when it's cold out, especially when it's hot out, especially when it's inconvenient. You will find lots of resources and reasons to get where you want to be. So, like I said, keep that rent money, keep that house down payment. Build up slowly or fast or whatever you need to do to make it work for your personal financial situation. I wish you the best of luck, and this is your time. It's always your turn. So starting is best, and you will be perfect. I love you. Take care, and I will see you next video. Bye.